This news update is brought to you by...
Don't you deserve a little me time? Play catch up and binge watch full seasons of your favorite TV shows. Available on video on demand from Flow. Simply press the VOD button on your Flow remote. This is how we do TV. This is how we flow.
This is the Barbados Today evening news update for Wednesday, January 6. Thank you for joining us. I am Mary-Claire Williams. Barbados' 50th independence anniversary celebrations kicked off this evening with much pomp and ceremony. It began with a parade of uniformed groups and students lining the streets of Bridgetown. Today's program is being held under the theme, Barbados We Come From. Barbados Today's Fernella Wedderburn has the details.
Scores of Barbadians lined the streets this evening to get a first-hand look of the parade of uniformed groups as they made their way up Broad Street, through the Charles Duncan O'Neill Bridge, onwards to Independence Square. They took every vantage point along the boardwalk as well to see the HMBS Excellence accompany the Broken Trident, as well as the oldest fisherman Fred Watson and the oldest seafarer Albert Brooms. They motored into the careenage around 5:40 p.m. through the Chamberlain Bridge. The Trident was then transferred to the younger generation of Sea Scouts and Sea Cadets, who handed it over to Prime Minister Frundle Stewart. It was then passed on to the St. George Parish ambassadors, who then placed it at the base of the statue of the Father of Independence, the Right Excellent Errol Walton Barrow. The national anthem soon followed, rendered by the St. Leonard's Boys Choir and prayer by the Bishop of Barbados. In his address, Prime Minister Frundle Stewart told citizens that they should be proud of the great country that Barbados had become.
We don't claim to be better than anybody else, but we claim to be as good as the best in the world. The Barbados of 2016 is fundamentally different from the Barbados of 1966. You only have to look at the quality of our housing, the quality of our architecture, the great advances which we have made as a nation. Contrast that with the spectacle in the 1960s of men and women being able to work only by chance.
The event is expected to culminate around 8:45 p.m. with a multimedia concert. Reporting for Barbados Today, I'm Fernella Wedderburn.
In other news this evening, the Ministry of Education says it will resume quarterly meetings with the Barbados Union of Teachers. The last set of talks were held in 2012. But BUT President Pedro Shepherd says he welcomes the decision. However, no date has been set for the resumption of the meetings. Shepherd tells Barbados Today there are a number of matters to be addressed, including the issue of study leave for teachers.
We know the regulations before has stated that there's the provision for five days per semester, or 10 days per semester. I think it's 10 days per semester. Either 5 or 10 days per semester. And when teachers apply for leave now, they get in a situation where the ministry is sometimes asking principals to determine how many days, if any at all, teachers should get because of the whole issue about whether or not the school can manage the teachers going off on study leave. So we are trying to ascertain from the ministry what is the policy, if there has been a change in policy, and if there is indeed a change in policy, then we expect the ministry to formally write so that we would know and teachers would know.
Residents of communities facing water shortages are planning a protest outside the offices of the Barbados Water Authority. That's the word from St. Joseph MP Dale Marshall following a meeting of the opposition Barbados Labour Party with members of the community at the St. Bernard's Primary School last night. Marshall also called on the BWA to cancel its bills to the affected parishes.
If you contract to provide me with water and you do not provide me with water, then I believe that you should compensate me for that. Now they may say, but you don't have to pay the bill. But you know, there are some people here who showed me a bill for $100 and something, and they swore to me that they cannot tell you that they get 3 buckets of water for the period that that bill was sent out. So in my view, the Barbados Water Authority, instead of telling people you are not to expect any relief soon, they should be telling the people in this constituency who are affected, we understand your suffering. And as a gesture of how seriously we take our responsibility as a water authority, we are going to let you, we're going to waive 2 or 3 months water. That is not. Now that's not going to solve the problem. That's not going to solve the problem. But you know what? If you felt that the water authority was showing some sympathy, some empathy, at least it would soften your heart. It would soften your heart against them. And they feel that they have an obligation to do these things with people.
In sports, media reports in Australia say Chris Gayle could be expelled from the ongoing Big Bash League. This stems from investigations by Cricket Australia into an alleged act of indecent exposure during last year's Cricket World Cup. Following Gayle's on-air flirtations with Channel 10 reporter Mel McLaughlin, there were reports that a woman has since accused the West Indian batsman of indecently exposing himself to her in a dressing room at the Sydney Cricket Ground last February. Reports indicate that if the claims of indecent exposure are substantiated, Gayle could be sacked and banned from the Big Bash. Earlier this week, he was fined $10,000 for his on-air antics with McLaughlin.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
Secure your future, be financially strong. Since 1983, we have been there for you. A smart range of products, great tax benefits. We're the solution to your hopes and your dreams. The Barbados Workers Union Cooperative Credit Union. The Barbados Workers Union Cooperative Credit Union. Humble beginnings to smart loans, smart savings. Save smart and borrow smarter, that's the move for me. Stability, prosperity, we're the solution to your hopes and your dreams. The Barbados Workers Union Cooperative Credit Union. The Barbados Workers Union Cooperative Credit Union.
In news from the region, the head of Haiti's Provisional Electoral Council has announced that presidential and legislative runoff votes will be held on January 24th. The announcement follows uncertainty raised by the council in a letter to President Michel Martelly that the polls would go ahead as planned. The council said more time was needed to organize the runoff. In St. Vincent, reports indicate that one woman was arrested today as police attempted to stop an ongoing protest against the results of last month's general election. They claim that the December poll was rigged. The protesters have been bearing placards near the electoral office since election day, but police instructed them to take their protest elsewhere. The Unity Labour Party, led by Prime Minister Ralph Gonsalves, won a 4th consecutive term in office following the December 9 vote. In international news, the United Nations Security Council is condemning North Korea's underground hydrogen bomb test as a clear threat to international peace and security. The Council says it will now begin work immediately on new measures against Pyongyang. Authorities in that country announced today they have successfully carried out an underground hydrogen bomb test. The announcement followed reports of a tremor near the country's main nuclear test site. We get more in this report from the BBC.
North Korea's soldiers may be good at goose-stepping, but a hydrogen bomb would put this impoverished country in a different league. The main beneficiary would be its young dictator, Kim Jong-un. In October, he paraded the huge war machine he commands, including North Korea's latest long-range missiles, which one day could carry nuclear warheads. For the young Mr. Kim, nuclear weapons are about one thing: his own survival.
Perhaps Kim Jong-un wants to tell his domestic constituents that he's powerful, he's strong, he's in control of his regime that he just took over a few years ago. He also seems to be trying to tell the international community that his country is a nuclear weapon state. That means that his country is a nuclear power.
For people living here in Seoul, the idea that North Korea, just 30 miles away to the north of here, may now have a hydrogen bomb is pretty terrifying. But the question remains, what can the world do about it? Sanctions have been tried and have failed. maybe it is now time for the world to engage with North Korea.
And that's the news. There's more on our website, www.barbadostoday.bb. You can also subscribe to our e-paper, email updates, and like us on Facebook. We're on Izumi Media in bus terminals and Screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you. You can also tune in to Channel 101 on Flow TV or Mix 96.9 FM for more news and sports. I am Mary Claire Williams. Good evening.